Alright, yeah, and welcome back to some more Magic Duels with our Revolt Counters deck. So, it was suggested by one of you guys that the final episode, I go through the deck, talk about what works and what maybe didn't work, and make some changes. So, I'm going to trial that out. Let's see what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below if you like this new format, and if you do, then the third episode of every deck tech will be sort of a changing of the deck based on your suggestions and whether or not it worked out. So I have made a few changes, and there's also a few changes you suggested that I haven't made, but are still valid points that you could do. So the main thing that I've done is that I've cut out the Prey Upons. So if you noticed in the matches, there was a lot of occasions where we had a Prey Upon in hand, and if it had been the 2-mana version, the Nature's Way, for example, we would have used it in a heartbeat on things like Narnam Renegade, but because we had Prey Upon, which allowed our opponent's creatures to fight back, I was very hesitant to do that. So one change that I have made is to cut out the Prey Upons, and we've gone for the 1 mana extra Rabid Bite, and this is essentially Nature's Way with just the missing Vigilance and Trample. So yet again, we get to fight an opponent's creature and they don't get to fight back, which works really well with our Death Touch creatures. So that's something that in playtesting prior to this recording, it's been working out really well. These are just hard-casted removal spells pretty much for the most part. Another suggestion you guys made was that Kalitas was a decent addition, and I completely agree. So Kalitas, we've cut out Yahenni to play to make the space for him. So we've gone down to 1 Yahenni and come up 1 Kalitas. So Kalitas is a 2 and 2 black, 3/4 life-linking legendary creature. It says that if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile that card and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. And then you can pay 2 and a black to sacrifice another vampire or zombie and put 2 1/1 counters on Kalitas. So there's a lot of synergies with this deck when it comes to Kalitas. So the first thing that you know is that when we go to remove a creature, it gets exiled instead of just sent to the graveyard. So that's really good for graveyard recursion decks and stuff like that. If our opponent's trying to sack a load of things, if they end up sacking stuff, then they end up giving us a zombie in place, and then we can use that zombie to put 2 counters on, which if you've got a Winding Constrictor is actually 3 counters. So in playtesting, for example, I went against a Vampires deck, and Kalitas ended up being something like a 17-18, because they kept blocking and sacking to stop me from gaining life, which only meant that I was getting more and more zombies and more powerful cards, which actually goes hand in hand with another change to add some Rogue's Passages to the deck. So you may notice that we ended up during games getting clogged up in a board that we couldn't attack through. Well, Rogue's Passage allows us to do that. So it's a colourless mana source, which from playtesting has not affected the mana in any way whatsoever. I've never felt that I haven't had the colours necessary, mostly because of the sheer amount of Evolving Wilds and Renegade maps. You can really sort it out quite easily. But for the 4 and a tap, you get to make target creature unblockable for the turn. So we get to make our Kalitas unblockable, that kind of thing. And maybe even our Gear Hulk, which is already trampling through, but if our Gear Hulk shoved a lot of counters on some other creature, we can make that massive. So, yet again, something like a Tireless Tracker that's been sacrificing clues most of the game and not being removed. Maybe it's time that that becomes unblockable so that we can swing through, because it has no other way to do that other than maybe Nature's Way and then trampling over that way. So those are the changes I've made. There is a suggestion that one of you guys made that I didn't go with, but it's not because it was a bad suggestion. It's simply because I don't know if it can go into this deck without a proper tune-up, and that's Obsessive Skinner over the Scrounging Bandar. So Obsessive Skinner is a 1 and a green, 1/1 human creature. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, you get to put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So you get to put it on itself, or you get to put it on another creature, essentially. With the Winding Constrictor, that would be 2 counters there. The thing that was the reason to want to put it in was because of the Delirium. One of you guys mentioned that in the previous video I'd managed to achieve Delirium twice without even trying. And although that is the case, it's probably not as common as you might expect, because we only have two enchantments, and I'm going to imagine, I didn't actually watch the video back, but I'm going to imagine that one of these enchantments was in the graveyard. That or a Planeswalker. And frankly, I don't think we've got enough enchantments and Planeswalkers in the deck. There's not enough variation in the card types. For example, we don't really run many instants past Fatal Push, so there's only 3 instants, I believe. Yes, there's only 3 instants. There's plenty of artifact creatures, but we have to throw them in the bin as well. So it'd really need to be more Delirium focused. There's ways that you can do it, and I'm going to show you how you might want to do that if you want to make this change yourself. But I never actually talked about the Delirium side of it. So the Delirium says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if there's 4 or more card types in your graveyard, you get to put a counter on target creature, which with the Constrictor is 2 counters, and so on and so forth, depending on the number of Constrictors you've got. So the value is really there. If you can make it work, it will definitely be better than Scrounging Bandar. The only thing is that Scrounging Bandar is useful immediately, whereas Obsessive Skinner requires a little bit of setup in order to do that. So the things that I would essentially change if you wanted to do it was to add in a few more enchantments, things like Vessel of Nascency. Vessel of Nascency is a 1-mana enchantment that says pay 1 and a green, sacrifice it, so you put an enchantment in the graveyard, and then you get to reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker from among them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. So you can really engage the Delirium with Vessel, that kind of thing. So that's essentially the deck. One thing that I haven't changed that I'm not entirely sure of, even at the end of this, is Greenbelt Rampager. I'm still not convinced that he's really the best card for this slot. Maybe another Planeswalker, perhaps, if you are going down that Delirium route, might be a good idea. The 3-mana Liliana, for example, might be a decent spot here, because you can grab creatures back from the graveyard, and a lot of our creatures synergize with each other, so there's always that that point that you maybe want to grab back a Greenwill Liberator or something like that if you can engage your Revolt on that turn. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the changes for the deck. So let's get into some matches and see how well it performs. I know it performs a lot better. This version that I've been playing all day has been doing a lot better than the previous version. It's not that the old version was bad, but I think this one's just working a lot better. With the Rabid Bites and stuff like that, we've got a lot more consistent, reliable removal for our opponent's creatures, that kind of thing. And a lot bigger creatures with Kalatas, which is pretty sweet. Alright, guys, I'll see you in a second. Alright, we are in. This one, if we drew a land, it'd be pretty sweet. We could get a turn 2 Winding Constrictor, and then we'd have to get the land to get your Henny down. It's risky. I think we can do better, though. This one's... it's alright, I guess. We've got our Woodland Cemeteries, which means we've got the double black for Kalatas, we've got the double green for Verdurous Gearhulk, we can get Talus Tracker down, and a Rogue's Passage to push through later down the line. I would like some decent draws, though, if we really want to succeed here. Scrounging Bandar. It's alright. We'll play down the Swamp so that we can Fatal Push, and also our Woodland Cemeteries now come into play untapped. So we'll see what our opponent does, see whether it's worth Fatal Pushing. That is not. With this guy, Screeching Scab, I'm going to go with it's a zombie deck, and we get to find out. Yes, it is a zombie. He's lost his Geezer and Geralf, which you might find difficult to get back based on certain cards in his deck that may only grab zombies, or at least get the perfect value from zombies anyway. We'll see. So I'm going to go Woodland Cemetery. I think we'll just throw down the Scrounging Bandar now so that we can get a little bit of value down, a little bit of aggression. I'm sure our opponent's going to swing in because they'd much rather trade and we would much rather not. So they're going to get in for 2. We're potentially going to get in for 2. We do need to find some way of activating the Revolt on this Fatal Push now, though. So yeah, he does swing in for 2, as we expected. Yeah, we're getting to the point now where Fatal Push is becoming less useful. It's only good on 2 drops until we can get Revolt activated, and then we can actually use it for its full potential. Graveblade Marauder. You see, we can't get rid of that. And that's going to be swinging in for 3. Gravebird Marauder, when it deals damage, then it also deals damage equal to the number of creatures in his graveyard. And since he's self-milling, Gravebird Marauder can become quite the nuisance. Okay, we do get another Scrounging Bandar. I think we probably go Woodland Cemetery and Scrounging Bandar here. We get to hold up Fatal Push this way. And then next turn we can Tireless Tracker and play a land. So if he does have removal, at least we get a clue out of it. Alright, we can't swing in because of his 1/4. Also has Death Touch as well, so we can't even pretend to have Pump because it'll just die anyway. So I'd really like for him to drop a decent card for Fatal Push to work on. Somehow I don't see that happening. We are in an interesting situation though, because next turn we get Tireless Tracker, and then the turn after that we're going to get Gear Hulk, which gets to put counters on everything. Wouldn't mind a Winding Constrictor so we can get double the value. So he goes with his Scab. That's fair enough. He's not going to get in with his Graveblade Marauder. I'm assuming because he thinks... Okay, he gets the Diagraph Colossus back. Oh, we do not want to do any of these. No, 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 no. So he uses Cemetery Recruitment to return a creature. He doesn't want to get Geezer and Geralf, which I find interesting, because Geezer and Geralf could get him back the Colossus. But that's fair enough. Alright, we do get an Evolving Wilds, which is pretty good. Ugh. You see, what I really want to do is Tracker and Evolving Wilds, and that's going to get us 2 clues. But also, if we don't use the Evolving Wilds to get the extra clue, we can use Fatal Push to get rid of the Marauder. But we can't do that this turn either. Well, either way, we're Tireless Trackering. And I guess we're going to drop the Evolving Wilds and maybe not crack it. We'll see. If he tries to remove our tracker, then we crack it. Otherwise, next turn, we crack it, Fatal Push his Marauder away, and then we get to swing in for a decent amount. Hopefully. It does mean that we're not going to get Gear Hulk down on time, though. But with that Death Toucher in the way, we're not attacking through anything anyway. So he is stuck on black mana. He's probably got some murders and stuff like that. Well, there's Dark Salvation. So he gets to make 2 zombies, and then we get a creature lose. Get --/ equal to the number of zombies. So let's get the value out of this right now. So we get the card advantage. We've got all the black in the world, so we just want green. Get the extra clue. We do, of course, miss out on Fatal Push there, but we might draw into some Revolt triggerers anyway. And I think getting the clues to answer this board state is probably a lot better for us. And we don't want to move counters around. There's no reason to do that. If we got Constrictors on the board, we could move those counters and just gain a counter every turn on each of them. And there's a Renegade map, so that's going to enable Fatal Push. So I think we could even sack a clue to enable the Fatal Push, but now we can't really attack it in at the moment. Interesting. So I think it's going to be sack a clue, see what we draw, then we've got 3 mana open. If we have nothing to do, then we Renegade map and Fatal Push the Marauder away, so that later down the line we can actually attack through. He only has 1 creature in the graveyard now as well. Well, we're sacking a creature anyway. Yeah, sacking a clue, sorry. We get another Scrounging Bandar. I'm not impressed by that, unfortunately. So maybe it's Renegade map and sack the other clue on his end step. Alternatively, it's just hold up the clue to sack and Fatal Push, but I don't think he's gonna. He's got the Colossus in his hand. That's something to get rid of. Yeah, I think we just pass the turn here. Crack a clue, Fatal Push the Colossus when it comes out. There's a submerged boneyard, so now he does have the double black, so he's got access to murder and other removal spells. And he's getting to that mana cost now as well, where he can do a lot of things whenever he wants to. There's the Colossus. So now we sack a clue, and because we sacked a clue, we can fatal push it away so he doesn't get any value off of it. We draw into a walking ballista. It's actually pretty good. We're gonna need a blah 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 winding constrictor pretty soon. He did not attack in. Interesting. Alright, still no counters moving anywhere. We get a Liberator. Well, Rogue's Passage does mean we can start attacking in with things, but what things do I want to attack in with? I'm still going to hold off on Gear Hulk, because I feel like we really want an extra creature down before we make the most of that. Maybe even stick them all on Walking Ballista, actually, in a future turn. Because we could get Walking Ballista for 1, 2, 3. But if we did it for 2, we could Renegade Map as well. And maybe hold up a Fatal Push as a little bit of a warning. Because I really do want to get Liberator down soon. And Renegade Map's going to allow us to get the Revolt trigger on that, which is really what I want it for. So I think we want to go Renegade Map. And we can Scrounging Bandar and Walking Ballista for 1. Or we can just Walking Ballista for 2. But then again, Walking Ballista is a bit of a mana sink as well, so if we have nothing else to do, we can just put counters on it all day. And we can move the counters from the Scrounging Bandars onto the Ballista as well to remove spells and creatures, should I say. So yeah, I think we'll go Scrounging Bandar, get an extra 2/2 on the board, and Walking Ballista for 1. Make sure to hold up the black so that we can pretend to have a Fatal Push. Alright, if we get a Constrictor, we're going to be in a stupidly good place. So I'm really hoping for something like that. Thanks to the Bandars as well, we do get an upkeep. So we get to sack that on our upkeep so that we can thin out our deck prior to drawing, which will increase the odds of us drawing into a Constrictor. But once we get a Constrictor down, what we can do is move a counter from the Bandar to the Bandar, which gets us 2 counters. That Bandar moves it to that one, which gets us 2 counters, and then we move that one onto the Ballista. Cruel Revival. So he's going to destroy our Ballista and return the Colossus. Alright, well, in response, I'm going to kill you 2-1. Okay. And we don't want to move anything because there's no point to doing it. And then upkeep. Grab a land out. Say no to all 3. Nanum Renegade. Okay. So we can Liberator and Gear Hulk here. And as much as I really want to shove all of the counters on Gear Hulk, having Cruel Revivals and Dark Salvations and stuff like that makes it a really bad idea. So, I think we probably just Gear Hulk and Liberator. And I think we stick counters on all of our Bandars and one on the Gear Hulk. Yeah, let's do that. Spread the love. Would have been nice with the Constrictor, but you can't always get what you want. Alright. Still can't swing in though, which is one of the reasons why we want in Rogue's Passage. Next turn we can get to do stuff like that. A fight spell would be great to draw into actually, because the Renegade can fight the Graveblade and then we get to swing in with everything then. So Colossus comes into play, gets a counter for each of the zombies in his graveyard. I believe it's just zombies. Yep. And then Liliana as well, so if a non-token creature dies, it transforms. Come on, fight spell. Okay, let's shift a counter over there. And we'll leave the rest for now. Cool. Just a counter. Oh, that's the Grinding Constrictor. Why? Alright. That's going to be pretty insane, though. So, we get to Winding Constrictor. So that next turn, whenever we move a counter from one of the Bandars, we move 2 instead. But we only take 1 off, which is going to be pretty good. And let's make the Liberator unblockable. So we've got a 4-turn clock on him now. Cool. If he doesn't hold up removal, well, there's your murder on the Constrictor. Smart move. So that was going to get out of hand. We were going to put 6 counters on something next turn. But he's still got 3 turns to deal with our board state though. Before he goes. If I stick 3 counters on that, let's say 5, 6, 7, 8. We essentially remove a turn that he needs to find an answer. Yeah, I think we do that then. Let's shift counters over. Yes, move a counter. Yes, move a counter. And yes, move a counter. Fatal Push. Your 3 converted mana cost. We don't have a way to trigger Revolt. Unfortunately. We could throw the Bandar into one of our creatures, but then they block with the Screeching Scab. And they get to flip Liliana then. Which might not be the end of the world, to be honest, but... Well, let's go to combat first anyway. Let's make... 8/7 unblockable. Swing in. So he's down to 7, so he needs to wipe our board essentially, because even if he does murder the Liberator, we just move counters onto the Gear Hulk, make that unblockable, and swing in with that for the win. So we might as well play down our Renegade. Discourage him from attacking him with everything. So, Westvale Abbey. Oh yes, Ormondal, of course. Well, is that going to help him actually? Takes him from 7 to 16. flips his Liliana. It is untapped. It's just a glitch. Flying Indestructible and Haste with Lifelink. So in response to him making us discard, we'll Fatal Push the zombie. I think we still win, right? We stick all of our counters on the Gear Hulk, make the Liberator unblockable. Let's make sure he locks that attack in. We're going to Fatal Push the zombie token. So he's only got one blocker. He does gain 9 life here. He could minus Liliana for an extra blocker though. He can get back the Screeching Scab. He chooses not to. Okay, well, we put all of our counters on the Gear Hulk. I think, without doing the math, we've got this. Yep. And yep. And a Yahenni on top of that for unblockable, but we don't have the mana to do it, unfortunately. So, make the Liberator unblockable. Swinging in for 18. So he blocks there, takes 7, 15, 16. Yeah, it's exact. Sweet! It was close though, very close. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next game. Alright, we're in. We're on the play. There's this hand. It's a nice low curve, but not enough mana. Not enough stuff. This one's awkward, but it does have a Winding Constrictor and a Narnum Renegade that we can't Revolt though, because we've got the wrong lands. We'll go with it though. We need that green source from the Evolving Wilds, so we're going to have to sack it right now. Does mean we can get Winding Constrictor down on curve if that's what we choose to do. But we need another green source in order to use the Rampager to trigger Revolt for the Renegade. Okay. He's on green himself. There's a green source. Wonderful. So we play a Swamp, we play a Winding Constrictor. And then next turn we play a Forest Rampager. It bounces back, which triggers Revolt. And then Renegade comes in with 2 counters thanks to the Constrictor. And swing for 2. Short of blockers, of course. Which we have answers for. Green, white. Is this humans? It's been a while. Looks to be. Okay. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I'll give it that. And we draw a Walking Ballista. Interesting, interesting. Alright, well, Forest into Rampager. Rampager bounces back. We get 2 energy because of the Constrictor, which is another reason why I kind of want to cut that, because then we miss out on a bounce if we have Constrictor. But that's just nitpicking. And then Renegade for the extra counter. Swing in for 2 since he's tapped out, and it's not a good block. Cool. So, if he's aura based, it's going to be an interesting matchup, because with the Walking Ballista, we can remove counters in response to him playing enchantments and stuff like that onto his creatures. So if he has things like Nimbus Wings, they're usually going onto 2 toughness creatures, so Walking Ballista is going to come in with 3 counters next turn. So we can remove creatures in response. We also have... well, not anymore. We also have Rabid Bite as well, which fights his creatures quite nicely. Not going to swing in though, which is fair enough. We draw a Nature's Way. Nice, nice. Okay, so... Swamp. And we can Nature's Way, removing his creature, attack for 5, then Ballista with 2 counters on it. Seems okay. Alternatively, we can just wait on the Ballista for a later time. Because I don't want him to have creatures if he's going to run auras and things like that. I'd rather him not have anything he can fight us back with that makes him get out of range of our creatures. Then again, he doesn't really get out of range of our creatures when we've got a Death Touch around a lot of fight mechanics. So I'm going to go with Rabid Bite over the Nature's Way because we don't really need to make use of the Trample and Vigilance just yet. So make our Death Toucher fight your creature. Sweet. And I think we'll put down the Rampager in this case. We have the 2 energy that we have to pay. So we're going to have a 3-4 down. Because we're not playing the Ballista. I'd rather get a little bit of extra value by playing it for 2 to get 3 counters. Which should kill pretty much all of the creatures in his deck for the most part. Maybe not so much with the Always Watching on the field. But we've got Nature's Way to deal with the ones that it can't deal with. There's a Tireless Tracker. That's going to die. Sandstone Bridge to give it +1/+1 and Vigilance. Already has Vigilance. But he does get a clue. And we're going to Nature's Way and fight the Tracker by the looks of it. There is a land. So, fight your Tracker. I don't want you having that kind of value. And then we're going to swing in for a stupid amount of damage. And I might just throw down the Walking Ballista, to be honest, because we're getting that close to the end of his life that we might just want to ping him off with the Walking Ballistas. And indeed, being at 5 seems like a pretty good idea. Although next turn, I can get 3 counters on it instead of 2. Is that going to make any difference whatsoever? Maybe. He also might have a board wipe as well next turn, so we'll hold off. Yeah, I think we just ended up having a god hand over our opponent's stuff. Which is always great. It's what this deck's been doing quite consistently, actually. It's very good. So, our opponent needs a board wipe here. Creature isn't really going to do it. Ballista can kill said creature. Looks like he's going to pass. No, he's going with Dustwatch. Okay. So you could be holding up a Blessed Alliance here. Which is fine. Because Walking Ballista is going to be able to clear the way for one of our creatures, and then we just sack in response to a Blessed Alliance, and we still have the creatures going in for the attack. Enough to take him out. So, Walking Ballista 4/2. Puts 3 counters on. So, we're going to have to do this pre-combat. Because if we attack in, then he can block, then Blessed Alliance. Oh no, that still wouldn't work. So that'd be fine. Yep, continue playing. So yeah, we can swing in. And then we can sack counters in response if we should so choose to do so. We only need 2 damage to get through. There's a Gideon's Reproach. So he's taking 2. The extra 3 counters on the Ballista. That's game. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. GG. Woo! Alright guys, that's going to do it for today. So let me know what you think of the new format for the 3rd episodes, whether you like the walkthrough of changes and stuff like that. Do remember as well, as I mentioned in the 1st episode, that all Magic videos are going to be coming Monday to Wednesday instead, to hopefully mean that they're not late like they usually are. So that's going to be the new schedule. As always, if you want to submit a deck for a future subscriber series, then be sure to send it either in an email in the comments section or on Twitter. Details are in the description if you need them. And be sure to like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon right next to the subscription button to be notified when I release new videos. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.